Although clinical trials are important to the medical community, to the public, they tend to be a little misunderstood. Dr. Kimberly Schlesinger is the medical director of the Cancer Institute at the University of Maryland, St. Joseph Medical Center. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me, I want to start a little bit about patients and why they don't really have to be afraid of clinical trials.
That's a great question, and we hear that a lot in the clinic.
Yeah.
So clinical trials have really changed and evolved over the last century, and right now there is a great deal of oversight and planning that goes into every clinical trial. So when a patient enrolls in a trial, there's not only individual practice oversight, but there's regional and even federal guidelines that every trial participant is monitored for. So there's a lot of safety involved.
Yes.
There's a lot of details that are really set out to protect the patient.
I think that's really important to know, because you hear trial and then you get a little scared, but when you know that there's parameters that
Absolutely.
state and federal laws are making sure that you're okay.
Absolutely.
That says something. Oh, the other thing that I think can be a misnomer is that people will think that you have to be super sick or have a very rare disease in order to participate in these trials. You say that's not true, right?
That's absolutely not true. And actually everything that happens in medicine is really a result of clinical trials. So in our world, in cancer, obviously folks are on trial to develop new treatments for cancer, but we also have prevention trials and lifestyle trials to understand whether the impact of choices we make outside of drugs actually impacts the development of cancer or recurrence. Outside and beyond cancer, there are clinical trials in cardiology, diabetes, really every aspect of medicine.
I remember I was just telling you about living up in Rochester, New York when I was a little cub reporter, and they had these trials that was like for eczema or for acne, and I was
That's
like,
right.
I can do that. And it was so easy. You went out, you filled a little form, and they may or may not use you.
That's right. That's
so
right.
It's something that all of us can participate in for any level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they even look for healthy volunteers to sometimes be the controls, or to look at healthy people and understand what keeps them healthy and do they have better outcomes in other situations.
And in your field specifically, if the doctor does not bring up the possibility of a clinical trial, I mean, especially when you're talking about cancer and you're interested in it, what can we as patients do?
There is so much information online, and the government has several clinical trial sites that folks can go to. And also folks should just be free to bring it up to their physician or their other providers to find out about options available.
What would you say some of the benefits are of clinical trials?
Well, first of all, we know that participation in clinical trials continues to move medicine forward, so you're really paying it forward in some regards. But there's also a lot of benefit to the patient. Patients can be on trial for new drugs that may actually be more beneficial than the standard of care. But at the same time, if people are in a trial where they're comparing standard of care to the new drug, that's a truly an honest question. And people can benefit from that, whether they're on the standard arm or the trial arm.
And then what kinds of clinical trials are available at the Cancer Institute specifically? Those?
Right, at St. Joe's we actually have a lot of clinical trials. We do a lot of breast cancer trials. We also have lung cancer, lymphoma, and a lot of different disease states. We're also part of the large University of Maryland network, so we can access trials downtown for even broader scopes of diseases.
That's great. And I know for more information, they can also download a free healthy living guide. They can go online, and we're going to have that information there.
That's right.
But that's umstjoseph.org/WMAR.
That's exactly
right.
right.
Okay, good. That was a long one right there. So you can learn more about the clinical trials or download, again, that free healthy living guide just by going online right there. Dr. Kim Schlesinger, thank you so much for being here and clearing up a lot of that misinformation. It's really helpful. And we'll be right back with more Midday Maryland right after this. Stay tuned.